How are you? Thank you very much for being with us. It's a good time for this country. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I think you're hearing it from a lot of people, not just from me. We're doing very well in so many ways. And the gentleman on my right, we recruited him. We tried to get the best person. We got a man that you'll hear in a second has done an amazing job with respect to Social Security. He's running it, and he's running it like nobody ever even dreamt possible. And it's the 90th anniversary right now of Social Security. So today we celebrate that 90th anniversary of one of the most significant pieces of legislation ever signed into law, the Social Security Act of 1935, and we're going to make it stronger, bigger and better. We're doing a job. In the campaign, I made a sacred pledge to our seniors that I would always protect Social Security, and under this administration, we're keeping that promise and strengthening Social Security for generations to come. You keep hearing stories that in 6 years, 7 years, Social Security will be gone, and it will be if the Democrats ever get involved, because they don't know what they're doing. But it's going to be around a long time with us. Very much, you'll be surprised to hear some of the numbers. I'm delighted to be joined by the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Frank Bisignano, who in the world of business, in fact, I wrote some of the little things down, that he's had an amazing, he's Chief Operating Officer of J.P. Morgan Chase. He worked for Jamie Dimon, and Jamie Dimon said that he was amazing. So think of that, Chief Operating Officer, J.P. Morgan Chase, had a storied career. Then he went to First Data. For those in the business, you know it's the largest payment company anywhere in the world. And worked for Henry Kravis, and it was in big trouble. He took it over as CEO. He made it incredible. They merged with Fiserv, and he became CEO of that, and that became extremely successful. I was in Milwaukee. I guess they have the Milwaukee Arena, and where we had some great success, some good speeches. But he's a really legendary guy, and he wanted to do this. I mean, he just wanted to straighten out Social Security because he loves our country. And what he's done in a few months is amazing. Almost 60 million American seniors rely on Social Security for peace of mind and a life of dignity in retirement. These Americans paid into the system, and they deserve leaders in Washington who are going to protect the benefits they've had and protect Social Security. Under Biden, Social Security went down like nobody's ever seen it, deteriorated. There's never been anything like it. The 4 years of Biden were very, very destructive. It couldn't have gone on much longer. Social Security was going to be destroyed. It was being destroyed. The average call wait time reached an all-time high of more than 42 minutes. Field office wait times were at 32 minutes, which is unheard of, and the disability claims backlog was the longest ever in recorded history. In other words, it was run just like the country was run. It was run really badly. But I'm pleased to report that under our leadership, and Frank in particular, the changes he's made and what he's done is sort of a miracle. Sort of like what happened with the country as a whole. Field office wait times are now down 30% since last year, and it looks like it's going to a total record number. And the record was set in a long time ago when the world was a lot different place. So we're gonna beat that record. Call wait times are down 73% while serving twice as many customers per day. The disability claims backlog is down 26%, and seniors now have 24/7 online access to their accounts, which they never had before, whereas under Biden, the website was down 29 hours a week for maintenance purposes. It was essentially not open very much. They were always maintaining it, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had a person running that had no idea what they were doing. Among my very first acts was to order all government employees to return to the office or be removed from the job, which means our Social Security offices are now open for full business hours, 5 days a week. So unlike being shut down all the time, we're open. at record levels also. We're making it really great for the people that want and demand Social Security, and they paid into the system. They deserve it. Last month, I signed one big, beautiful bill and allowed no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, okay? So how's that? Not bad, right? No tax on Social Security for our seniors. And to protect our benefits, we've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud. It's the Social Security fraud that was taking place at levels that nobody's ever seen. We cleared 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database over 120 years of age. Think of that. So we had 12.4 million names where they were over 120 years old. Is that right? That's a hell of a statement. I have a feeling, Dan, that's not really really didn't happen, did it? So you have 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database that were over 120 years of age, meaning you were breaking records, because I've never heard of anybody at 125. There were nearly 135,000 people listed who were over 160 years old, and in some cases getting payments. So somebody's getting those payments, and we're after that. We're also fighting the menace of inflation to make life more affordable for American seniors, and we've ended Biden's inflation nightmare. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now our inflation is down to a perfect number, a beautiful number, hardly any at all. And yet our country's taking in tens of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, actually trillions of dollars in tariffs. And you know all about it. It's been amazing. They say, why are we taking in so much money? Last week they found $29 billion and they couldn't figure out where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they said, how did you know that's where it came from? We're taking in billions and even trillions of dollars in tariffs, paid by other countries who, frankly, were taking advantage of us for many, many years. And they were doing that to us, but our people didn't know it. We didn't have smart business people. We've ended Biden's inflation nightmare and came in below expectations, and yet, again, this past month, we set records. Gasoline prices are way down, and really dramatically, as everybody knows, and energy prices have been going down, other than in certain states where you have Democrat-run states where they put windmills all over the place. Anytime you see a windmill, you'll say, well, they have bad energy costs, and it's happening in New Jersey. I saw that there's a revolution going on in New Jersey. They closed up a nuclear power plant, and they're raising electricity rates by 21, 22, and 28%, something like that. And you're going to have a new governor in New Jersey. I'll tell you what, you have a good man running the Republican Party. He'll get him down. But what they've done is they've killed so many good sources of energy for very expensive windmills and lots of other things that don't work. 401ks and retirement accounts are soaring, and the stock market is setting record highs. Almost every day we're going record highs, and yet we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. So it's turned out that Trump was right and they were wrong. There's a few smart people knew what was going to happen. A few of us were right. So we're going to keep the fighting going. We're going to make America's seniors every single day. We're going to fight for them. We're going to make them richer, better, stronger in so many different ways. But Social Security is like pretty much the one that we think about. And we love it. And we love what's happening with it. And it's going to be good for 90 years and beyond. Again, you were given only a short period of time. Social Security was supposed to be like, now, had they won the election, Social Security would have defaulted during Biden or Kamala's election, whoever they so chose. Two beauties. And now what I'd like to do is ask Frank to say a few words. Again, this is a man with a really storied past. He's one of the most successful anywhere in the world. What he did at J.P. Morgan Chase and what he did for Henry Kravis and all of the others are like legendary stories. And he just wanted to do this. He's making about a tiny fraction, I would say, a tiny fraction of what he used to make. But he didn't care. He wanted to do it. He made a lot of money. And he said, I want to run that system. I want to put it back on track. And he's got unbelievable talent over there. It's like a different place. So Frank, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you. Is less than 1% tiny fraction, sir?
Is that what it is? Let's go. That's a tiny
It's
fraction.
an honor. It's an honor. It is an honor. And I'd like to start off by thanking the president for his tireless effort in running the country and what he's done across the country, meeting every commitment. And, you know, I see it directly in the big, beautiful bill, the opportunity that it's brought to seniors. But his effort on every commitment, delivering against it, and delivering on world peace tirelessly. I'd also thank him for my opportunity. You know, he's teasing me, I'm teasing him about the economics of the job. But the reality is to serve 300 million Americans, which is what Social Security serves, is a tremendous honor. And him putting that faith in me and building what I believe, and I think I have a right to say it, is the best leadership team ever assembled in the White House and in the cabinet. So that's my great honor. So I come here and get the opportunity to serve the American public in a manner that I never imagined in my life. And what we found was the opportunity to fix a foundation. The reality is, people talk about 72 beneficiaries. I talk about over 300 million Americans with a Social Security number that we must protect through the system. And when you look at what we talk about in eliminating Social Security numbers that were live in the system, they could carry fraud through the whole system. So the first thing was root out fraud, waste, and abuse. But while doing it, the best way to be more efficient is provide more accurate payments and better service. And you heard the numbers. I think the most staggering number is that we had a website that was down 29 hours. This will be a digital-first agency, and we are building my SSA accounts. That's the digital account. And we have a bold goal of 200 million Americans to have a digital SSA account by the end of next year. It will happen. Just like we had a bold goal of single-digit wait time on the calls when they were at 40 minutes. And we did that, this is my 100th day, we did that within 90 days, right? Get the web up and running, bring technology to our field offices, use digital presence to answer and serve the American public. That's the job. When we do all that, then we'll really know the answer to if we have a hole, right? I was presenting my second week on the job with $18 billion in errors by the Inspector General. It was public. In less than a month, we solved 9 billion of it. So that's the type of swift action we can take, right? You see the things like the big, beautiful bill for the seniors. You see better digital services. You see field office wait times down. If you make an appointment to have a field office visit, it now happens in 6 minutes. Unprecedented. We are serving more people and delivering more than was ever delivered before in a manner with the highest possible quality, and we've just begun. You should expect this to be a great digital-first agency. My commitment to make this happen is as deep as the president's commitment to make the world a great place. And you see the fabulous job happening here across America and what he's doing in the world. You should expect Social Security, just like the president. I thank him for making America great again. It's happening. Social Security will be great again. You have my commitment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to sign the new proclamation, please.
Sir, this is a proclamation both commemorating the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act, the signing of the Social Security Act, and also the incredible accomplishments of your administration, fixing and promoting and safeguarding Social Security. And it also obviously mentions the fact that as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a vast majority of our senior citizens are no longer paying taxes on their Social Security benefits, as you promised in your campaign and as you delivered for the American people.
That's a big factor, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's great. I think they're very happy about it, too. They're very happy about a lot of things. Good job, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
And Frank has brought with him some of the most talented people in business, and they were making a lot of money, but they made a lot of money. They had money they didn't have to make anymore. They just want to do this. They want to have our country become strong and good, and that's what's happening. And we're doing that in a lot of locations, a lot of areas. You deal with some of the people that are commissioners, that are secretaries of state, secretaries of treasury and commerce, people that were really, really successful people. And they gave all that up to make a very small amount of money. They don't even consider it a fraction. You say 1%, less than 1%, you go, that's pretty good. That's a big pay cut. But Frank is one of the most outstanding of all. His career has been incredible, and you just have to look at what happened at JP Morgan Chase and look at what happened with First Data. First Data was the biggest company of its kind in the world, but it was not going to make it. He went in, and it became a tremendous success. It merged into another company, and he became the head of that company. And he said, let me go save Social Security. Because as big as that stuff is, it's small potatoes compared in terms of numbers, right? In terms of numbers, these are big numbers. Government numbers are big numbers. So I want to thank everybody for being here, but I'm really proud of you, Frank. And here's your proclamation, and let's take a look at what that looks like. Signed by the human hand. For a change. That's good, right? Do you have any questions for Frank? How about questions for Frank? For Frank?
President?
Yes, Social Security, please.
First and foremost, this was a major campaign promise that you had. 2023, it was one of the first Agenda 47s that you put out. It was titled, We Must Protect Medicare and Social Security. Why was this important for both of you to get done, and given the fact that it will impact millions of lives?
Well, it was very important to me because I knew how Social Security, I've been hearing about it for years, long before I came to office, that it was really going to die very shortly. And I had to put somebody outstanding in, and we were talking, I was talking to him on a business sense once, and I said, this guy's amazing. And he said, I'd love to help you with Social Security because it's sort of what he does. You know, he takes troubled entities and turns them around. And he did some of the biggest messes in the world, and Social Security in a certain way, I guess, you reported it all the time. In 4 or 5 years it's going to go bust, but not anymore, it's not. And he's got it turned around so well. The proclamation helps, all of the things we've done help. And he's finding such tremendous fraud where we have illegal aliens. We have people that don't even exist on Social Security now. They don't exist. And what it does, it makes it totally secure and powerful for the people that are on it and need it. And we're very proud of the job he's done, one of the best.
Kara Castro from Lindsay LCP. How are you today, sir? Democrats like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren continue to peddle the lie and the claim that you're trying to cut Social Security, despite the repeated promises to protect it. Why do you think they keep pushing this misinformation and literally terrorizing the elderly in America that sadly keep watching the very misleading mainstream media?
I love your question. I should have called you almost first, but I love this question. But it's such a good question. It's so vicious what they do. Elizabeth Warren said she was an Indian. We call her Pocahontas. She's a liar. She lied her whole career. Based on the fact that she was an Indian, she was able to get into certain colleges, get certain jobs, get into certain universities to work there. She's a liar and a mean person. She's a nut job. I watched her the other night. She's all hopped up endorsing a communist in New York City. And she was all excited and jumping up and down. She's got to take a drug test. She really does. She's got to take a drug test. There's no way somebody can act that way and be normal. What she's done to our financial institutions, she destroys people. You know that you had a lot of great banks in the Midwest and banks that loaned to farmers and others, and they went out of business. She put them out of business. Stone cold mean. Banks that were open 150 years, family banks that supplied the farmers and manufacturers and others, and she put them out of business. She's a mean, horrible human being. Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. I don't mind him so much. He's just a liberal guy, very liberal guy. He's a wacky guy. He's still sharp. I gotta tell you, you know, he's 86 or 87 or something. He's still sharp. You compare that to Joe Biden, it's, you know, sort of what happened. So I don't mind Bernie Sanders. With him, you know what you're getting. You're getting a guy, he's a nasty guy, but he's somebody that, I don't know if I call it a fastball, but he's able to throw the ball pretty well. He's okay. I watched him the other day. He was totally on the opposite side of things. I will say this, the biggest issue right now, and an issue that's really taken hold, is crime, stopping crime in the cities, and the Democrats are fighting the stopping of crime. So I think that's like men playing in women's sports is okay, or transgender for everybody, okay, but this is a bigger issue. This is the biggest of all issues. Crime is rampant in DC, it's rampant in our generally blue-run cities, and they've got to do something about it, or they're never going to win another election. And instead of calling me a dictator, they like to say Trump's a dictator. Trump's a dictator. Well, I had calls from many, many friends, including Democrats. I have a lot of Democrat friends, but they're normal people. And they were thanking me so much for what I'm doing in DC. They feel so safe already. And you know, at the border, we had 0 people come in, and this is done by a liberal group. They're the people that do it. I had nothing to do with it. 0 people in 3 months. We had 0, 0, and 0 for 3 months. And last year we had millions of people pouring in from all countries, from jails, from drug addicts, gang members, drug dealers by the thousands and thousands. 11,888 murderers, half of whom committed more than one murder. They flowed into our country, and for the last 3 months we had none. And I didn't remember when Joe Biden used to always go, I need legislation. I had no legislation. I just said we're closing the borders, and the whole world understood it because they respect your country again. They really respect this country again. They didn't respect it. When he said it, it didn't mean anything. But now they know it meant a lot. And Mexico does what we tell them to do, and Canada does what we tell them to do, because we have the 2 borders. We have the northern border, southern border, and they were both horrible. But now it's some people say it's a miracle. Well, what Frank has done with Social Security also is something very special. But what we're doing with crime, which will be your next question, I guess, because everyone's they're afraid. Half of the people here, maybe all of the people here, most of you live in DC, you are petrified to go out. And you're liberal, and if you're liberal, you're going to have to change your Democrats. You're going to have to change your ways. So we will have crime under control very shortly in DC, but they're record numbers, and sadly what I guess the mayor did, but whoever it was, they asked the numbers to be fudged so that it would show less crime than that. The fact is, it's worse than it's ever been, and we will have it just like we did at the border, where the borders are totally in great shape right now, the best ever, record-setting shape. We'll have the crime situation solved in DC very soon. And we're also going to beautify the city. We have a beautiful city, but you can't have graffiti, and you can't have roads with potholes, and you can't have the medians, the dividers in the roads falling down on the street. We're going to be beautifying the city, making it really beautiful. Well, we're going to be getting the criminals the hell out of here. We don't want the criminals in Washington, D.C.
Mr. President, one on your Putin meeting and then one on DC crime. Are you prepared to offer Vladimir Putin access to rare minerals to incentivize him to end the war?
We're going to see what happens with our meeting. We have a big meeting. It's going to be, I think, very important for Russia. It's going to be very important for us, and important for us only in that we're going to save a lot of lives. Look, we have, we're not paying any money, as you know, to Ukraine. We're supplying equipment. We're being paid 100% plus for that equipment by NATO. And I got NATO up from 2% to 5% of GDP. They now have billions of dollars. NATO is a very rich group of countries, and we make the best military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and they're buying our equipment, and they're paying 100% for the equipment, 100%. In fact, they owe us about $2 billion now. They're going to send a check. Another one was sent recently for $1 billion. So we're not spending any money anymore. Biden gave $350 billion, got nothing for it. And if you look, and by the way, we also signed a rare earth deal where we get, years of rare earth to get our money back, the money we spent. But what I'm really doing this for is to save thousands of soldiers a week. You have Russian soldiers, you have Ukrainian soldiers, and then you'll have missiles dropped into various cities and towns in Ukraine. And they're losing last week they lost 7,251 people, mostly soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. I'm doing it for that reason. We have a meeting with President Putin tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I don't know that it's going to be very important. We're going to see what happens. And I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. And if they can, it'll be great. I've solved 6 wars in the last 6 months, a little more than 6 months now. And I'm very proud of it. I thought the easiest one would be this one. It's actually the most difficult. We had one war raging, as you know, for 37 years. One in the Congo with Rwanda was raging for 31 years. We solved 6 of them, made peace, not just solved them, we made peace. If you look at Pakistan and India, planes were being knocked out of the air. 6 or 7 planes came down. They were ready to go, maybe nuclear, we solved that. I thought this would be maybe an easier one. It never made sense, this war. It would have never happened when I was president. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But millions of people have been killed. And I'm there for one reason, to see if I can solve. This was Biden's war. This isn't my war. I want to see if I can stop the killing. Yeah.
Rare earths, do you plan to offer access to that at all?
We have great rare earth. We made that as payment for all of the money that we've spent so foolishly in Ukraine. We spent $350 billion. Now Europe spent $1 billion. That's a lot of money. They spent $100 billion. That's a lot of money. But we should be spending a lot more money than them, and they understand that. And I think that's maybe why we're not spending money anymore. We're not spending any money. They're paying us for everything. So people are shocked when they hear it. They don't even understand. They don't even write about it. But we're not spending money. But we are spending a lot of time trying to get the war solved. If we can get the war solved, we'll be very happy. As far as rare earth, that's very unimportant relative. I'm trying to save lives.
By the way, on DC crimes, do you have a message for the Democrat lawmakers like Nancy Pelosi or media who are saying, after living here for many years, that there is no crime and you're trying to start a new news cycle?
It's another reason why the Democrats lost the election in a landslide. They lie. It's just like, look, the crime is very bad. I think they'd be much better off saying, we want to help President Trump with the crime because it's an epidemic. It's a tragic situation. It's the worst it's ever been. And we want to help President Trump with the crime as opposed to, he's a dictator. He's a dictator. People are so happy to see our military going into D.C. and getting these thugs out. As you know, we arrested a lot of people yesterday. We arrested a lot of people today. We're getting people that have arrest records that you wouldn't believe. 28 arrests, 15 arrests, brutal people. And we're going to have to do something about this cashless bail. Because people shoot somebody, they kill somebody, and they're out on the street in less than an hour. Now, that's when it's all started in New York, in Chicago, Los Angeles. You take a look. If we didn't go to Los Angeles to help this incompetent governor and a mayor that doesn't know what the hell she's doing, if we didn't go to Los Angeles, you wouldn't have a big part of it burned down. The other part of it would have burned down too. You would have not had, I don't think you would have been able to have the Olympics. We have the Olympics. I have a lot at stake with that because I'm the one that got the Olympics. I got it in my first term. And I was saddened because I got it for what would be my third term. okay, which turned out to be second term. And the Olympics, it's a great honor, but I felt badly because I said I won't be president when the Olympics came. Well, through circumstance, I am president. I want to make sure the Olympics is great, the World Cup is great, and the 250, maybe the most important of all, is the 250-year celebration is great. So what's happening is we will work very hard. You would not have had, I don't believe that if I didn't send in the troops, I don't think you would have had Los Angeles in condition to have the Olympics. I think you would have had to tell them, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go someplace else. And if you look at the police commissioner or the sheriff, he said, we really needed them. Thank God they were here. We really needed them. That was the first 2 or 3 days after we solved their problems. Then he said, well, I think we could have maybe done it. No, he was told what to say. He said, you go back to your files and see what he said. He said, thank goodness they came. If I didn't go and put our military there, or National Guard in that case, and we'll go military if we have to, but the National Guard went there, they were very effective. If we didn't do that, I don't think you would have had the Olympics in Los Angeles. The place would have been just like the 25,000 houses that burned down. Where, by the way, the governor are focused on getting their permits. You know, the federal permits are given. Those are the hard ones, and they were given a long time ago. People can't rebuild their house because they can't get permits from the state and the city. And they ought to focus on that because it's very upsetting. I went there right after the fires. I walked the streets and I met a lot of great people that want to rebuild their homes. We took care of it from the federal standpoint, but they're not taking care of it from the city, the mayor and the governor. They're not getting their permits, they can't build their houses.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, thank you. Do you think this summit and the incentives for peace you are putting on the table could end up rewarding Putin for his invasion of Ukraine? And what kind of signal do you think that could potentially send to other aggressors?
No, I don't think it's a reward. I think that what we have is a situation that should never have started, It didn't start under me, and for 4 years it wasn't even discussed. And I could see it was going to happen after I left. I could see what was happening. Everything that we did was wrong. Everything that was done was wrong. Everybody's to blame. Putin's to blame. They're all to blame. This is a war that would have never happened.
We have a question on LA. Mr. President, earlier today, the Washington, D.C. police chief issued an executive order allowing metropolitan police officers conducting traffic stops to notify federal immigration and customs enforcement about undocumented immigrants in Dade County. Yet the city has a long-standing pro-immigration policy, including allowing non-citizens to vote in local
Which is
elections
ridiculous.
and limiting cooperation with federal immigration agencies.
Right.
Did your administration pressure the DC police chief to review and repeal these policies? And will you require other cities to roll back similar policies to avoid possible federal takeover of local law?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that it was a very positive thing. When they stop people, they find they're illegal, they report them, they give them to us, etc. That's a very positive thing. I have heard that, it just happened. That's a great step. That's a great step if they're doing that. Yeah, I think that's going to happen all over the country. We want to stop crime. I think if the Democrats aren't strong in this issue, they won't be able to. I think this is a bigger issue than all of the other ridiculous things that they have, like open borders. Well, open borders is bad. Open borders has caused a lot of this problem, allowing millions and millions. I think 24 million people were allowed to come into our country. Many of these people from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions. This was the Biden policy. And I don't believe it was him. He was never there before. It was the people that encircled this very beautiful desk, the Resolute desk. Radical left lunatics who were smart, but radical left. And I'm very happy to hear what you just said, because I've heard that.
And Mr. President, on LA, if I may, the mother of a 15-year-old California boy was briefly detained at gunpoint in a case of mistaken identity. The LAUSD superintendent says that surveillance video shows armed agents wearing police and border patrol insignia. Given the National Guard, the border control, ICE agents, they're not trained in local policing. What specific steps are you taking to ensure that young people are not put in harm's way with these types of operations?
Yeah, what they are trained in is common sense, and they're very tough people. And they have great common sense, and they are highly trained. I heard the mayor of LA was saying, oh, they're not trained this way. I heard this character from where was he from? They talk about him as a candidate. He's got no chance. The governor of Maryland, I watched him this morning saying that the governor of Maryland, yeah. They say maybe he'll be a president. He's not presidential temper at all. But I heard him today talking about how the National Guard or the military is not trained in police, but they're trained in common sense, and they're trained in not allowing people to burn down buildings and bomb buildings and shoot people and all of the things. They've done a great job. Again, if we didn't send them, and very importantly, if we didn't send them into Los Angeles, the rest of Los Angeles would have been burned down to the ground. When you look at Minneapolis, I sent them into Minneapolis because the governor wouldn't make the call. If I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a Minneapolis. It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be existent today. You remember the famous scene burning over the CNN anchor's shoulder. He said, everything seems to be very peaceful. And behind him, the whole city's burning down. So you had the whack job governor who ran for vice president and made a fool out of himself. You would have had, I saved that city, I'll tell you, I saved that city. So the bottom line is these are very tough people that are trained in a thing called common sense, and they're also trained in doing what we're talking about right now. And you watch crime stop, but you wouldn't have Los Angeles, it wouldn't be existent today. We would have had to cancel the Olympics if I let that go on.
Mr. President, will you pressure Israel to allow journalists into Gaza to cover the humanitarian efforts the U.S. is pursuing? And
I'd like to see that happen, too.
I
would like to see it happen. I would be very fine with journalists going in. It's a very dangerous position to be in, as you know, if you're a journalist, but I would like to see it.
And on tariffs, Brazil, Mexico, and Latin America are getting closer to China, and they say it's partly because of the tariffs you're imposing those countries. Are you concerned them getting closer to China?
No, not at all. I'm not concerned at all. They can do what they want. None of them are doing very well. And what we're doing in terms of economics, we're blowing everyone away, including China. We're doing better than any other country in the world right now. Brazil has been a horrible trading partner in terms of tariffs. As you know, they charge us tremendous tariffs, far, far more than we were charging them. We weren't charging anything, essentially. And Brazil has some very bad laws happening where they took a president and they put him in jail, or they're trying to jail him. And I happen to know the man, and I will tell you, I'm pretty good at people. I think he's an honest man. I think what they've done, this is really a political execution that they're trying to do with Bolsonaro. I think that's terrible. But they also treated us very badly as trading partners for many, many years. One of the worst countries on earth for that. They charged tremendous tariffs, and they made it very difficult to do anything. So now they're being charged 50% tariffs, and they're not happy, but that's the way it goes.
Mr. President, on DC crime, are you concerned at all that some federal officers that are helping DC police might be being pulled away from other high priority assignments?
Like what?
Terrorism.
Really? Terrorism? They'll stop terrorism as part of what they're doing right now. No. The soldiers that we have, first of all, we have plenty of them, long beyond what that you have here. We're just using a very small force. In Washington, D.C., they have thousands of police. They have a lot of police, but the police weren't allowed to do their job. We have a lot of great ones. Then you have some that weren't so good, to be honest, but they weren't allowed to do their job. But now they are allowed to do their job, and essentially it's only 2 days, but you look at the numbers already, they're dropping. And no, they're not being pulled off for anything.
Mr. President, I just know there were some very concerning reports about crime statistics. Police are manipulating crime data to downplay crime in DC. Will the administration release its own crime statistics to counter their misinformation? And will those individuals who are intentionally misrepresenting crime data and fudging the books, like you said, be penalized for endangering the public?
They are under investigation right now. They are giving us phony crime stats, just like they gave other stats in the financial world, but they're phony crime stats. And Washington, D.C. is at its worst point, and it will soon be at its best point. You're going to have a very safe, you're going to have a crime-free city. I mean, I say that, virtually a crime-free city. And these are strong men, but the criminals are strong men and women, but they're strong men. And these are people that don't play games. We're not playing games. These are criminals we're dealing with. And they treated people, they took one of the people that worked for us the other day, you saw the beating, the pounding, 10 against 1. And they pounded the hell out of him. He's lucky to be alive. Barely, almost killed. And we're not gonna have that happen, please.
Mr. Tulsi Gabbard declassified more documents last night related to the Russiagate hoax.
She's doing a great job, by the way. That was another fake story. I'm very happy with the job she said. That's right, they declassified some terrible documents talking about Democrats and what they did. Radical left lunatics.
It showed that then DNI and James Clapper sent out emails to IC officials saying that it would be a team sport to push them to debunk the 2017 ICA report and that it might lead them to compromise on their normal modalities. What's your reaction to the latest declassification? And in your view, sir, what does real accountability look like for players?
It's incredible what we're finding. Absolute proof of guilt. And we'll see what happens. But Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals. And they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years. And I got totally exonerated. There was no doubt about it. They should have done it in 1 day, not 2 years. But it was a whole scheme to try and demean Trump so that I couldn't win an election. And that is a criminal group of people. They're sick people, and they're criminals, and they should be taken care of.
Is Putin have a strong hand tomorrow?
Well, he came to our country, and I heard CNN fake news talking about that was a big win for him. Normally, you would say the opposite, but they said, oh, it's a big win that he came here. Normally, we would say the opposite, he came here. I think that President Putin would like to see a deal. I think if I weren't president, he would take over all of Ukraine. It's a war that should have never happened. If I weren't president, in my opinion, he would much rather take over all of Ukraine. But I am president, and he's not going to mess around with me.
Would you support or agree to reducing NATO troops in Europe in countries like Poland in order to get Russia to agree to a peace deal?
That hasn't been put before me, and I'll think about that for later, but it has not been put before me. Go ahead.
Is anything less than an unconditional and immediate ceasefire a victory for the U.S.?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, tomorrow we'll see. I say, I don't know where that comes from. Sort of not a good question. I would say that tomorrow, all I want to do is set the table for the next meeting, which should happen shortly. I'd like to see it happen very quickly, very shortly after this meeting. I'd like to see it actually happen maybe in Alaska where we just stay because it's so much easier. But I think that, I think it's going to be very interesting. We're going to find out where everybody stands, and I'll know within the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or 5 minutes, like we tend to find out whether or not we're going to have a good meeting or a bad meeting. And if it's a bad meeting, it'll end very quickly. And if it's a good meeting, we're going to end up getting peace in the pretty near future. Okay? How about one more?
Thank you, Mr. President. On the Smithsonian, I know that your administration is seeking to weed out a lot of this left-wing spin that's in the museums, but we're seeing from people like Brian Stelter or other commentators that they're insinuating that you are trying to change history according to your narrative. What's your response to that, and is there anything you particularly like to do?
We want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow. I don't know, you guys. This is interesting. I was surprised that he did a news conference so soon after doing one yesterday. So I don't know what's getting under Trump's skin, but when I saw that he had left like he did a whole long letter on Truth Social. I've never seen him respond like that, especially towards the crime, I guess, that he's saying that's in Washington, D.C. So there's a lot in that meeting. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And we also want to give a shout out to all our members. You know who you are. Dulcie, the Debbies. We got 2 Debbies. Lawson, we have Chef Chevy and Laura and different people that are supporting. So think about becoming a member. We want to say thank you to our moderators. We have who? Who we have on? The Buki. Thank you so much for joining us. But one thing about this channel, we're going to call things out and we're going to hold our president accountable, and we're going to hold the left accountable. We're going to hold everyone accountable because it calls conversation. And the only way that we can stand tall as Americans, if we talk about it, the things that trouble us, the things that we feel that's happening in this country that are unfair to different segments of the population. We have people on here from Germany, around the world, around the United States. And, you know, some of the things that he has said, they're true, they're truths and untruths. So we're going to call it out. What's happening in Washington is the result of Elon Musk, former Doge employee, being attacked in Washington. I mean, once that happened, he called out the National Guards. The FBI are patrolling the streets. You have all these different, it's like at least 3 or 4 federal agencies that's stopping all the citizens. Imagine living in a town and you're just trying to get to work. You're just trying to go get something to eat or go to a restaurant, and everyone they're doing all these traffic stops. They are looking for people because they have to have bodies. In order to justify what he's doing, this takeover of Columbia, District of Columbia, he has to show numbers like you're getting criminals off the streets. I think that's a wonderful thing, arresting people who are committing crimes, but they're looking to arrest people, and the targeting is what I'm not in agreement with. When you have a president that's going to lead with the whole United States, that's going to view, he said they're arresting black women and black men and children. Here we go with labeling one community unjustly. We are not thugs. We are law-abiding citizens, the majority of us. But when you're doing Biden's 1994 crime bill playbook, they're leading with that language. They're leading with that language when it's not right, because you don't want to be an upstanding citizen and having people from around the world and inside this country feel like they got to clutch their pearls because a black young man who's educated, that doesn't even look threatened, whatever, but he's black, that you're judged by the pigment of your skin. And that's what I have a problem with. Like, he went in, and I don't know what Elon Musk got on this man, but that was an overreaction. One thing that's for sure is that the crime rate is down considerably throughout the United States. Throughout the United States. You could Google it, you could go to chat, you could go to AI, you can find out all this information. You can go to Ground News, who's non-biased, and you can find the statistics yourself. But this was a reaction of Trump because it was a white man. People are beaten up every day that are black and killed more than anyone else. They're beaten up every day. But because this one individual, they should have called 911. With the kids, they were wrong. But now they're targeting black children. So all black children are going to pay for what a few kids did that were wrong. So now you want to lock them up, no rehabilitation. You want to go down to children, our babies. And because prison is a business. So we all know prison is a business. They want the bodies. When Biden did the 1994 crime bill, they built more prisons. See, it's a business. So, and it's slavery. That's how now, if you take a child, you want to start as young as 13, 14 years old. They can't be rehabilitated. They haven't even lived yet. They have a purpose. They're God's children. And you don't want any programs. You don't want anything that can set an example for them, because if they're living in a impoverished environment, they're going to be a product of their environment. But when you bring people in, which has been proven, it's been proven, like he has mentioned in Baltimore, their crime rate is down 62% because they're mentoring their children. They're interacting. They're pointing them in the right direction. Because we all, God given us all the same intelligence and capabilities, but people perish for lack of knowledge. You have to teach people. And I think military would be great for them because it would teach them
Well, to the
discipline.
people in the chat, like it seems like when she's talking about this is upsetting you. White people commit the most crime.
Yeah, and I don't care if it, because we're going to speak the truth. We're not giving over our children. We already went through mass incarceration of black men that have taken the fathers out the household, and they were unjustly, many of them, over sentenced for minor incidents. You look at my video yesterday, I had showed former mayor de Blasio, and he had went into detail of the effects that it had and how they were given these extra long sentences. Because they have been made to look at black Americans, they're labeled as thugs, but when white people commit crimes, they put a Boy Scout picture up, they're trouble. Mass murders, they're trouble. Oh, they got mental illness. There's all these excuses. Give me your phone with all the statistics. We can prove, go to the red states. We're going to do all America. And look at who's committing the most crime, like he's doing in Washington. Look at what's going on. Don't be selective and with all black people. First, we have open borders. He said that we have people that's here that have committed not one murder, but they have committed at least 2 murders. And they're running around the streets. And we got all these terrorists, but the FBI's on the street policing American citizens and people that haven't committed crimes. They're looking for bodies to substantiate his actions.
D-Train, you could look up the statistics yourself.
Where's the phone? I want to read it off that I sent to you. I think it's in your notes. So we're going to speak the truth and we're going to put it out there. And my concern is that we're going back to the 1994 crime bill that they have everybody say, yeah, they all need to be locked up. Black people are educated, articulate, college graduates. We are not thugs. This is not the 1960s or 30s or 1800s. It's 2025. We're the second most powerful earning people in this country. All the swag and everything, music, arts, athleticism, intelligence, we're inventors, we're politicians, we're architects, we're engineers, we're all the 9 yards. We are middle class, upper middle class, millionaires, multi-millionaires, and multi-billionaires. We're not just barely making it, but they want to show us we're so impoverished that there's stereotypes that continue to go on when it comes to black people. It's dangerous for us, but you can't have our children. Now, people that are older that committed crimes, okay, they're going to pay. But the children, you're trying now to take the kids to see, he said lock them up a long time because they need another load of slavery. Keep the black kids that will grow up to be black men, and that keeps our birth rates down, just like they put Planned Parenthood on us. That keeps our birth rate down. All the men from the 1994 crime bill in prison, guess what they did? That kept black birth rate down. So it's a lot of politics that's going on. It's a lot. And he's doing a lot. And I'm disappointed because I support him. But I don't support him calling my children and my people thugs. For the President of the United States is sitting in the highest office, call them trouble like you do white people. Call them that they have mental illness. Call them that they went through, they're impoverished, and all the things that contributed to them being what they are. Because all of us can learn, and all of us can be rehabilitated. And it's too much. It's not right. It's not right. This stuff that goes on that he does, it's not right. When you have people doing that, that's what causes the divide. Judge Jeannie has a long history of using inflammatory language on Fox News, where she often criticized for harshly framing protests or crimes involving black individuals, rarely applying the same energy or language to white perpetrators of violence. Using terms like thugs or law and order is racially coded context. That's what and our president is doing, and he's supposed to be the president of all Americans. All of us. He has to set an example. We're not going to be that make America great again if you are racist towards a segment of the people and you want every officer and everyone, they've always had permission to beat up or kill black people. The illegal immigrants, they have catch and release. They have more protection, and we have seen them over and over again beating up cops. We would never do that. And they're let go, giving the middle finger. They have done everything and been given everything. While those homeless people that are in Washington, he doesn't care. They are tearing up the only homes they have, those encampments, but they're not relocating them. They're not providing shelter for them. The shelter people said they don't even have enough shelters to put them in. They're discarding our homeless Americans like they're trash. But we took care of 14 million illegal immigrants that were homeless that came into this country. I want Americans to be treated with respect. I don't want the military calling Americans under some falsehood, like you would think Washington, the sky was falling, and that's a lie from hell. That's a lie. You go to any city, whether it's a white city, predominantly white, or any city, you're going to have the same crime. You're going to have crime and maybe more. But when you do the way that he's going about it and the language is wrong. The language is wrong. You know, and that's what I have a problem with when it comes to him. The language is wrong. And it's impactful, especially when it's coming from the president. See, okay, what's equal? Basic potential. At birth, nearly all humans' brains have the biological structure necessary for learning, reasoning, memory, problem solving, the core elements of intelligence. No group or population is born more smarter than the other. That's what it seems like always been said, like black people or other ethnicities are at a lower learning ability. God made all our human brains the same. The only thing different about us is our pigmentation, but our learning ability is the same. That's the truth. That's the truth. Intelligence is not fixed. It's something that can grow or decline over time, depending on experience and environment. Depending on environment. And see, those are things that we want to look into. You know, genetics. Intelligence is partially like environment, prenatal nutrition and health, early childhood care and stimulation, access to education, exposure to trauma, chronic stress, and those are the things that may hinder. But we are all born with the same ability. We all are. You didn't have on here what I really wanted that I thought that you had put on here. But anyway, I'm going to come back on because I was looking for statistics showing the rest, the other states that I had told you to look up. It's not on there. So anyway, you guys, we have to just be mindful when we say that we want to have a better America, you cannot separate the American people. There are Asians, Hispanic, black, white, Americans, and Native Americans, indigenous people. And when we separate and we label, that's not cool. And coming from someone who's been through the judiciary system, Trump, who's a convicted felon, who was labeled a sex predator, and all these other things, for him to have no grace for others, and he's sitting in the White House, and he's been convicted, and he served no time. You can't do that. He should be more sensitive to, and he knows how fair the judiciary system is towards black people. That's why black men supported him. But for him to turn around and then to label as thugs.
You want red and blue states, the crime?
That's what I had in my phone that I told you to do. And it's, but it's a lot that we...
You can't explain it, but you want us to believe it, so I'm looking
So anyway, I did have the statistics I had looked up earlier. I just don't have it now, but I'll show it on another live where I had looked up predominantly, and I did by youth and districts, other states, because Trump wanted to talk about other countries that have nothing to do with the United States of America. He's supposed to show the different crimes in different states. Let's see the different states, and we have more red states. Do the states and the cities. Don't just do urban, and don't just talk about Washington, D.C. And he's inflating numbers like people are just running around and it's filthy and all this, and it's not. It's not. It's not what he's describing with the way Washington looks. It's not dirt. It's really a nice place. Washington is great. It's great there. And people not running amok. Every state or wherever you go to, there's always a segment that you have you're impoverished or whatever, and you're going to have a higher crime rate. But that doesn't compensate the whole state. But when you're going to target a segment of people and label them, that's why we're arrested 5 times more, no matter what it is. And that's why predominantly white people can do the same crime and they are free, they're not prosecuted, and we receive time. I had all that ready, but some reason I will have that for you on the next slide, because I'm going to stand my 10 toes down, and we're not going to go backwards. This is 2025. He has to be the president for all the people, and I think it's wrong. If you look at his social media, I don't know what's going on with him. I've never seen him he wrote like a letter, and a response trying to justify what he's doing. And then they call another news conference on this. Something is just not right. And they're trying to find black people stand down, stay in the house. If you got to go to work, talk to your bosses or whatever. You are a target, just like the Mayor Bowser said. You're a target. It doesn't matter your position, because they judge you based on the color of your skin. So you could be working as a representative, legislator, an intern in Washington, whatever the case may be. You are targeted. You're being targeted. You have to pull out your papers. That's how black people used to have to show me your ID. People sitting on their porch. They at their home. They walking around. Show me your ID. At home.
We've been to D.C. multiple times.
At home. And all he did, this is from one incident. One incident. Because he prioritized white people, especially young white people. You're beautiful. Like the rest of us, we are beautiful. Black is beautiful.
Johnny said he doesn't buy this as racism because black women are calling out the community.
You know what? No, it's not. Don't tell me no 3 or 4 people, whatever, that say something. And that's what happened with the 1994 crime bill. They had black people, black politicians. They had us. They convinced us, yeah, we're going to have safer streets. Lock up all the black people. Guess what? Your streets weren't safer. Lock up all the black people and throw away the key. They're super predators beyond the pale. That's what they did. That's the playbook. Now they want to do that to the children. And it was a horrific thing that was done. That was horrible. That was horrible. What they did. And the result of it is still going on now. What they did to the black community. And it didn't matter. Nothing had mattered whether or not they were guilty of anything. That did not matter. You were supposed to go to jail, no rehabilitation, no nothing. If you took a candy bar, you could get 30 years, literally. So it's a big. We're going to talk about what he's doing, displacing the homeless. Homeless Americans are looked at. These vets and these Americans are looked at like trash, like they don't matter, and they matter to me. And I'm just going to put this up again just to show this is the playbook that they're using. It worked the last time. You had black policy, you had people going along with it, but we got to be smarter. Not when it comes to our children, saying to go after the kids.
So you think what Trump is doing is not about race?
It is. Yeah, because if I had the statistics that somehow I never can have.
Criticizing former Vice President Joe Biden over the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, which was signed into law in 1994. Biden, who was a senator from Delaware at the time, wrote the legislation. It is the largest crime bill in U.S. history and increased funding for the hiring of police officers and the building of prisons. Here's Biden discussing the bill on the Senate floor before it was voted on in 1993.
We don't, they will, or a portion of them will become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Critics of the bill, like Mayor de Blasio, have called it a mistake and say that it contributed to a mass incarceration crisis. And Mayor Bill de Blasio joins me now. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Elaine.
So in an opinion column in Thursday's New York Times, Bret Stephens says Joe Biden should be proud of the crime bill because it helped make the country safer. You disagree with that. Why?
Yeah, Elaine, Bret Stephens wrote that column. He couldn't have been more wrong, and he absolutely ignored the hundreds of thousands of Americans unjustly sent to prison for long periods of time, the families torn apart, the effects of mass incarceration we are feeling to this day in New York and all over this country. And look, the crime bill was the foundation of that horrible era of mass incarceration. Look at the fact that so many people who had committed very minor offenses were sent away for so long.
Minor.
Look at the fact that the bill had a disproportionate impact on African Americans and Latinos, and again had horrible impact on families that we're still feeling the effects of right now. That bill was a huge mistake, and we got to be clear about it, and we can never go back to mass incarceration. So, the nominee of the Democratic Party has to be someone who says very clearly, mass incarceration was a huge mistake, the crime bill was a huge mistake, we're going forward in a whole new direction. And the other thing that the whole column got wrong was New York City, we are safer every year. We're the safest big city in America because we moved away from mass incarceration. We're arresting a lot fewer people. We arrested 150,000 fewer people in 2018 than 5 years earlier, and we got safer. We're not punishing people and trying to send them away. We're actually trying to work with communities, particularly to help our young people lead productive lives. We're not treating them like predators. We're treating them like human beings. And it's making a huge difference, and that's making us safer.
Why do you feel that focusing on the crime bill and former Vice President Joe Biden, his support of the crime bill, is the political strategy that you want to pursue right now?
Look, a columnist in the New York Times today attacked me for saying out loud that the crime bill was a mistake and that we had to end the era of mass incarceration. And to be fair, it was a conservative columnist, Bret Stephens. But he was telling Joe Biden to be proud of the crime bill, own it and say it was a great thing. That's a huge mistake. And I'm just speaking up and saying, no, that's an absolute misunderstanding of what happened over these years. New York City has gotten safer and safer because we moved away from that kind of divisive approach, that focus on arrest, that focus on mass incarceration. We got safer because we're actually trying to bring police and community together with mutual respect. And we are not going to allow people of color to be treated as if somehow they are lesser, particularly our young people. In this city, under my predecessors, they were stop and frisk for a long time. Young people, young men of color, were treated like they were guilty of crimes that they never committed, they had nothing to do with. And they were consistently portrayed in a negative light. We ended all that and started respecting our young people of color and our communities of color. And it's made us safer. It's led us to the situation that we can heal the wounds of the past and bring police and community together. But the columnist in the Times today was suggesting that, let's celebrate the crime bill, even though thousands and thousands of families were torn apart. And I'm not going to stand for that. I spoke up and I said that's an absolute misunderstanding of history. And look, Vice President Biden was one of the people who brought us that crime bill. He needs to own up to that.
While we have you, I'd also like to ask.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is that Trump is doing the the 1994 crime bill playbook. He's running it back. He's running it back, and he's targeting not just black men, but he's targeting children and saying that they'll lock them up for a long time. That means give them life sentences no matter what minor infraction, because it already has happened to my community. But we're not going to sleep on this. And a lot of black people don't know that Biden was the author of the 1994 crime bill. They don't know that, realize how they targeted our community, selling us, oh, well, if black people lock up all the black men, you're targeted, then everybody's going to be safer. That never had happened, and that's not the case. And we don't have the highest crime rate. White people do. White people go to those same states, do these same polls, and then the truth will set you free. But just to continue to divide us and label us, we are not thugs. I'm not a thug. My kids are not thugs. My black men, we're not thugs. Give us the same grace. Same grace. And we're not going to be labeled. And we're going to always have people that are going to go along with the okie doke. But the result, the ratifications of what happens in the long run, you know, you lock our kids up, they should be out here being productive and purposeful and living their God-given gifts, then they're not out there leading their families. They want them to grow up in a society that where people have to be savage in order to survive in prison. You're going to put them in there with grown men. And what he's doing is wrong. President Trump is no justification. I agree on everything, but putting the National Guards and the FBI, we got 350 terrorists in this country that they don't even know where they at. And they're policing, and they're just trying to arrest. Their job is to arrest as many black people as they can so Trump can get a body count. Oh, we're safer now. They're not even committing crimes. They're arresting you because you are black. He needs numbers to prove what he's doing is right. And this came from one incident. One. That's it. We're spending millions of dollars with all of this. All these agencies, boots on the ground. So he's wrong. So anyway, thanks you guys for standing tuned. I will have more numbers to show. We're not going to do selective, segments. It's going to be all Americans, all of us, because we all under the same umbrella. You're either going to be the president of all or the president of none. You're doing this to Americans, and that's not right. It's not right. That's not right. The same people, you had 14 million, and he's talking about 24 million today that came in over the border. They get treated better than black people do, even now. That's crazy. They've been given more resources than black people have even now. Even Americans, period. They've been prioritized over us. All Americans. We got to stop this. We are not the bad guys. We're not the bad guys. And we need to stop. I can show you brawls and stuff with white kids fighting and beating each other, knocking each other out. It's on all ethnicities, all groups have crime. And that's a fact. But they're not called thugs. And that's a problem when you sit in the highest office and then you don't want people to call you a felon. That was trending all on Twitter today or last night, calling him a felon, sex predator. They had long lists talking about President Trump. And you have no grace. Look, when you became the president, so you're saying that you've been rehabilitated. Obviously, you're the president of the United States. So anyway, you guys, thanks for joining. Thank you to the moderators. And, we can agree to disagree. People don't like hearing the truth or whatever. But we got to be real. I'm not, I answer to God. I don't answer to man. I'm not only here trying to get friends or people to agree with me. But some things need to be said. And I see the playbook. And they're trying to run it back. And they're trying to make laws to attack children as young as like 12, 13 years old. No, you can't have our kids. We got, as adults, and I don't know where these so-called black organizations are, they're worthless. I haven't heard anything from them. And this is not talking about, we don't want, you don't want crime. We're not talking about the crime. We're talking about the targeting. You're targeting and you're labeling black people as thugs. And that's wrong coming from the President of the United States of America. This is 2025. He got to get the memo. No, he's wrong on this. And I'm going to call him out when he's wrong. And I always support him. Like 99%. I love the job that he's doing. But you can't attack Black Americans who are supporting you. We're trying to support him. But I'm not going to support someone that's attacking my very essence and who I am as a person. It doesn't make sense. So anyway, you guys, don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe. I love all of you guys. Thank you for joining us. You know, we got to have the tough conversations.
Yeah.
We got to have the tough conversations. We can't, you know, just be grinning and just, you know, go along to get along. We got to have these conversations. And I know it's difficult. I know it's pushback. I know people don't want to hear it. I know people don't like it and they get upset. But how are we going to grow as a nation if we don't talk about it?
Poor love. Imagine not paying attention to the President of the United States, the country we live in.
We live here. Don't label us as thugs. And then when people come and they travel from other countries, come here, they put a stereotype on Black people that's unjustly. And then people don't respect us as a community when we're movers and shakers. We have contributed everything to this country and have been mistreated, even with enslavement. And you still want to keep us underneath their feet and down and still want to label us? That's not right. That's not right. And he's in the highest office. People don't say he a thug. You're gonna label all our kids and continue. He reiterated again today in the Oval Office. He was on his Truth Social. I mean, the man wrote like a freaking letter, not a little paragraph. The man, I never seen him before write a freaking book. He wrote a book. You know, because he's wrong. He's wrong on this. He's wrong. So anyway, you guys, Speak the Truth 2.0, become a member, go to my other channel, Pray to All Here. We have an Instagram, Speak the Truth 2.0, and we also have a product, and we have a website. I don't know if my son put the link on it, but we do have something that's special that we want you to go to the website and check out the product. We'll probably put it in shop. We just got to, you know, connect it. But you guys are going to love it. And
we'll show you guys the next stream and promote it. It's just something.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be on here tomorrow. There's gonna be a lot going on tomorrow.
This is a product that
go ahead.
This is a product that we made ourselves, and it's very unique. And I think you guys are gonna think it's cool.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be here, and we're supporting President Trump. Hopefully, he can mediate the peace between Russia and Ukraine, because that's a big deal. We do not want World War III. We think we got problems now. We don't want that. We don't want that drama. We don't want that, and I'm glad he's gonna keep Zelensky out the meeting, because he can't sit at the table with the big boys because he's not diplomatic and he's too emotional, he's too sensitive, and he's stubborn. You gotta be able to listen, because they're going to have to come to some kind of agreement on both sides in order to end this war, and that's the bottom line. So he's going to find out, he's going to take back the information to Zelensky and the EU, and then they can all come together and they can, hopefully, they can end that war. So that we're praying for it. We got to pray for your president, even when we're not in agreement with him. On this case, you got to be the president for all the people, because you didn't just get elected because you had one group of people voting for you. We all put him in office, and he has to remember that. And the Republicans, future Republicans who want to run for office after them, you can't do that. If you want to continue to be elected, you can't do that to Americans. You know, you gotta treat us all properly, give us all respect that we all deserve. You know, so that's all, folks. Thanks for joining us. God bless you. And join us tomorrow. We will be back on here tomorrow. It's a lot that we're going to talk about. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show more statistics, fact checks, and things that people can look up and see. Because work needs to be done in all of us. Nobody is perfect. Everybody got drama, even in their own families. You know, y'all got family members that are like a problem, you know, or don't get along with. So that's in every family. And we're family. We're family. We're Americans. We are one big family. And we are proud to be Americans. And we want the rest of the world to be proud of all Americans. We don't want the world looking at, oh, look at how the president is treating black Americans in comparison to white Americans. It's not right. And he should never be behaving like that. It shouldn't come out of his mouth because he's a world leader. It matters what he says. And he wants to keep saying it and keep saying it because I don't know what's going on. I think I know Elon is a racist, and that was his Doge dude, and Trump and Elon got this bromance, whatever relationship that's going on right now, and I don't know if he's trying to prove something to him that we're going to get those black people, that did this, out of all people, the black people, that set them off, triggered them, and now you're labeling all of black American children. That's wrong. You can't label everyone, and these stereotypes have to stop. So anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us. God bless everyone. God bless all of you. And thanks for spending your time with us. And we will be back on tomorrow. It's going to be all about Russia and Putin and President Trump and Zelensky and the EU. We're going to focus on that. I think that's really the top story right now because it matters where they go from here. Because if they don't end that war, I believe that it can escalate into a World War III. So we need peace between those two countries. So anyway, you guys, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe. Love you guys. God bless, and see you on the next live. Bye.